Let's get it on. Let's see. Come on, Rumble. All right. Hello, governors. Welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show. I'm your host, James. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful evening. I am one of your hosts, James. My other co-host, Sabrina, is here. Sabrina, say hello to the audience.
Hello, what's up, Jaybe? What's going on?
I don't know what the hell is inside this tea, but for some reason, I sounded... Look.
Shh.
Maybe it was your talk about Lord Rothschild that kind of inspired me on your show the other day, but
that old school British accent that he has.
Oh, that old school British accent. He sounds so pompous, doesn't he? Jesus. Anyway, good to see all of you here this evening. Welcome to the Sabby and Jaybe show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am one of your hosts. I just let you guys know we're every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch us on there. You can also catch me and Sabby on our respective channels as well. So go ahead and if you guys like to, those are linked in the description down below. If you guys have not already, just a quick shout out to all the people who are already on our Substack mailing list. If you guys would like to, you guys can also go to revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you guys are aware of email notifications so you guys can know when we go live, upload clips, and so on and so forth. Also, shout out to all the patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this work that we do. So thank you so very much also to you for your support in this channel. Also, in addition to and furthermore, we also do fundraising for our graphics designers. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever. And with that, we're going to say just a couple of quick hellos because there's a lot to get into today. And I'm going to tell you guys what we're talking about in a second. But we have Miguel coming in saying, peace, good to see you. We have Sheila B coming in saying, hello to Miguel. Sheila also asked the question, what doc is the questionnaire for? This is about the Wendy Williams documentary. So if you guys have not, once we're done, close to the end, I want you guys to take that poll that we have up there, okay? So the question is, should basically the producers have scrapped the documentary or kept it up? So once we go over all the details, then I want you guys to give me your opinion, okay? But she said, did I miss it? Wendy, I stopped TV consumption years ago when she was still on. Okay, thank you so very much. So yes, we're talking about the Wendy Williams documentary that came out recently. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Trauma Queen says, free Wendy Williams.
That's right. Hashtag free Wendy.
Free Wendy. Good to see Jack Hemmings. Also, we also have in here, James says, I love you guys so much. Aw.
Hey, James.
Hey. You got the same name. We James has got to stick together. Retro Gamer saying hello. We got Eric T coming in saying greetings and salutations. Good to see you. Salutations to you. All right. Gotta love when Eric's in the chat. We have another Eric. Clap it up for the Erics, man.
There's a lot of Erics.
Yeah. There's a Prince Eric, from what was it? The Little Mermaid. I think this is his name, Prince Eric.
Yeah. But there's a lot of Erics like that come through our chat.
Yeah. Sheila B, not to be confused with Sheila E, saying you beat into anti-TV thing by a few years. All right. We have John Kemper. My nickname for him is Blue Marvel Adam Bashir, one of the most powerful people in Marvel Comics. Good to see you, John Kemper, as well. And then we're going to do just a couple more. Mastermind Hour, which is also a RBN channel member. Good to see. He says, hello, everybody's. And we have Georgia. Georgia Freckles says, nice little MacD's tune there. You support the genocide in Gaza. What? What are you talking about?
No. I don't know who MacD is either.
Oh, Mickey. Oh, McDonald's? No. My tune is ba-da-ba-ba-ba, Free Palestine. That's what I said.
Why would they even ask that question if they watch our
know. Maybe they thought somehow. I don't know. People get confused. You know, it's okay. You'll learn about who we are and what we represent here. We have Leroy coming in saying tap the like for some real ones, and we have Dark Star saying hi to Jack, and then Fred Edwards says hit the like. Thank you so much. And Latori, girl, I gotta give you your flowers. I got to give you your flowers. One of the videos that you posted on Twitter, that's going to be part of this stream. Notori, you a real one, girl.
The way I found out about all this was Notori's tweets. It was her tweets on Twitter, and I was like, what is going on with Wendy Williams? I was like, let me check this out. It was Notori's tweets that let me know like something was up with Wendy Williams. So,
Sabby, let's raise it up for Notori. Let's raise it up for Notori. All right. All right, guys. So what are we talking about today? Good to see all of you here. We're going to be talking about Wendy Williams. What happened?
What in the hell is happening with Wendy?
Like, look,
a totally different person. She's in a wheelchair.
Oh boy. Sabs,
yes. I'll mention this later. Thank you for reminding me, gamer. Wendy now has the same condition as Bruce Willis. We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Yeah. Sabs, I want to ask you first though. When it comes to Wendy, like how did you get first introduced to her? Did you get a chance to watch her show? You know, how familiar are you with her?
So I'm an old school Wendy chick. I used to listen to Wendy when she was on the radio. So for a lot of people don't know, before Wendy had a talk show, she had a radio show. Like she had one of probably the most popular radio shows in the country. So before there was the Breakfast Club, there was the Wendy Williams show. So a lot of the things that you see on the Breakfast Club, Wendy Williams used to talk about those same things on her show. Although her show was a little bit more racy, like she didn't hold back, like she would interview like musicians and things like that, but she would ask them a lot of personal questions like, who you sleeping with lately? Like stuff like that. Like, so she was the first one that I remember really to push that envelope on the radio. And then other people started to kind of copy like her style. And then this is back when I was in South Carolina. So then I found out that my best friend, who actually at that point in time, she lived next door to Charlemagne the God. So Charlemagne the God was actually on the radio in South Carolina. So this is when I was at the University of South Carolina. And he actually had called her one night. We were hanging out. She had him on speaker because that's what she does. And he told us that he was moving to New Jersey and that he was going to be working on the Wendy Williams radio show. So this goes way back to when she was still in radio. So he moved out there and all that kind of stuff. And then the next thing I knew, I heard that she was getting a talk show. And then I used to watch like her talk show. I loved her Hot Topics segment that she used to do. Yeah. But eventually as time got by, I stopped watching that type of content. Like I stopped watching like the gossip, like talk shows, because Wendy's show was mainly about like what was going on in celebrities, like personal lives. Eventually got to the point where I stopped watching that type of stuff and I wanted to see something that had more substance, right? So, and then over the years, it just, I kind of checked out from that. And then I didn't hear about her again until she passed out. She fainted actually on the set while she was live. And then I heard about her again when I found out, the story that was reported about her husband had another girlfriend and got the girl pregnant, which, by the way, the girl that her husband got pregnant was actually introduced to him by Charlemagne the God. That woman is actually from South Carolina. That was a friend of Charlemagne's, and he actually introduced them, knowing that Wendy and Kevin were married. So there's a lot. I saw the Wendy Williams, documentary, or excuse me, biopic before. So I there's a lot of things about like her personal life that I knew about. But she went through a lot. Like was very open about her life. Like I know she had like at one point she mentioned she had a coke habit. That's when she was working on the radio. And then she eventually had to break that. She went through a lot in reference to pregnancies. Like that was another thing. And like the Kevin, we call him the Kevin, her husband, the first time she found out he cheated on her was, I think it was like right after she had the miscarriage the first time. Like it was, anyway, she went through like a lot. So just remember that when you just like, oh, Wendy Williams has this big show and she's this wealthy woman, like her road to success was very bumpy.
Yeah. So it's similar to, well, I didn't know about Wendy Williams until her 6-week sneak peek on her TV show. So because I lived down here most of my life, even though I'm originally from Jersey, I didn't know about her because I didn't really listen to the radio that much. And then on top of it, I didn't know about her until she came on TV. And so when I first saw her, I really didn't look. But then next thing you know, I turned on because, I probably was at dialysis or something like that. And so I listened and I was just like, I was enamored with the hot topics, just like you. So that's what happened with me. And then next thing you know, I was, watching daily. I started to drift off, from watching because it seemed like every other day she was talking about the Real Housewives. And I'm like, why is she talking about the Real Housewives? Like,
yeah.
So, yeah. But outside of that, when she did have that collapse, it was on a Halloween episode and she had fell. And she came out and talked about how she had Graves' disease. And you were always concerned for her health because she always talked about her health issues. So yeah.
At that same time, she was also dealing with the pregnancy issue with the girlfriend too. Just FYI. So there was a lot of stress there too.
Yeah.
So
it recently came out, I think it was within the last week, where Wendy Williams, a documentary about her life as of now has recently came out. There's a lot of controversy that's surrounding it, and it was released on Lifetime. And a lot of people are now saying that, to be honest with you, that documentary should have never happened. And it is because of some diagnoses that also came out as of recently as well with Wendy Williams. She was diagnosed with dementia as well as aphantasia. So a lot of people are saying, why did you do this documentary? And so there's some details that we want to go over, that we want to talk about. And I think there's a reason for talking about this, because a lot of people are like, why are you guys talking about this on a show where you guys talk about, the news and you guys talk about what's going on as far as workers and things like that? There's a connection here that I think that is important for us to take a look at as people who are workers, as people who exist within this capitalist system. Okay. So we're going to go through that. First of all, what I want to do is I want to share this one. And this is Wendy Williams' niece that is speaking out about this right now. And so we're going to go over this just a little, just to get some perspective.
Yeah. How you doing? And there's the Wendy that we're going to see in this documentary.
My real name is Wendy Hunter.
It's not a very pretty sight.
It's not.
To see her go from that to that, for you as somebody who looked up to her, what's that like for you?
Hard. I think that people are going to see this documentary and it's going to be a departure from the Wendy that everybody has known.
Alex Finney, the niece and goddaughter of talk show icon Wendy Williams, speaking out about her aunt's private struggle.
I feel like I've been living in this secret bubble for a very long time.
Most people know Wendy as the larger-than-life, self-proclaimed queen of all media, host of her own namesake daytime talk show, The Wendy Williams Show. No celebrity off limits during her scorching hot topics.
Mariah, I don't know who you think you're fooling with this one.
And that signature catchphrase.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
But a new Lifetime documentary, Where is Wendy Williams, revealing the different Wendy family and those closest to her knew in the years following the cancellation of her television show. Lifetime's parent company now the target of a lawsuit just days before the documentary's premiere on Saturday. The company telling ABC News in a statement, Lifetime appeared in court today and the documentary Where is Wendy Williams will air this weekend as planned.
Did you see a neurologist
To find out if I'm crazy?
Mm-hmm.
In it, viewers will see a shocking portrait of Wendy as a lonely, agitated woman.
I have no friends. You know how many people come out to support you? You know how many people love you? No, I don't.
You are bigger than this. You are better than this. You are smarter than this. You are stronger than this.
Facing low moments, including excessive drinking,
Did you drink this whole thing today?
fits of anger,
Go! Drive! I have no idea where we are.
and bouts of incoherence.
I think she's losing memory. Have you guys noticed that?
How dare him?
So with my aunt, some of the issues that are being presented in this documentary have been there before, but it just really sped up over the last 2 years or so and just mushroomed into something that felt uncontrollable.
So, what are your thoughts so far, Sabs?
So I'm wondering if some of the memory loss, if some of this can be attributed to the alcohol, right? Like drinking too much, having blackouts and things like that. I mean, they have diagnosed her with dementia, but still at the same time, it's like, I think what people may not know is that her son actually was taking care of her for a while, right, Jaybe? And I think he was able to prevent her from drinking and to keep her away from alcohol or drugs or whatever. But something seemed to happen after he, stepped away. It seems like, according to this documentary, which I think should not have been done, it looks like she kind of took a downward spiral after he was no longer involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot there. Let's continue.
Definitely cognitively has some things that are off.
The 59-year-old now revealing through her care team that she has been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, a form of frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Her team saying the decision to share her diagnosis was made not only to advocate for understanding and compassion for Wendy, but to raise awareness about the disease and support the thousands of others facing similar circumstances.
Frontotemporal dementia, it tends to affect younger people in their 40s to 60s. It's pretty rare, and it affects behavior like decision-making, personality, impulse control, and then it also affects communication skills. But most patients will have a mixture of behavioral and language symptoms.
Bruce, this way, please.
Golden Globe winning actor Bruce Willis, an action star famous for the Die Hard franchise, also diagnosed with aphasia in 2022 and later FTD in 2023, forcing him to step away from his career in Hollywood.
I have to really give both Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams a huge amount of credit, because what they have each done is been open about something that is not a glamorous diagnosis. These are not easy symptoms to talk about. For them to open up that discussion and allow people to learn about this disease is such a gift. It's so important.
Alex sat down with me to talk about the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to add, I saw a video of Bruce Willis recently, and it was bad. Like, really? Bruce Willis, for those of you who don't know, Bruce Willis can't talk now.
Wow.
Like it progressed that fast. So you just heard the dates that she gave there about when he was diagnosed. It progressed that fast. So the recent video that I saw of Bruce Willis, I saw it on Facebook. He cannot speak. And they said this disease is rare, but here we have 2 people that have been diagnosed with it within the past, 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And these are just the ones that we know about.
Yeah. Thank you for adding that too.
Alex sat down with me to talk about the documentary just before her aunt's diagnosis was made public. Your aunt is known for her sizzling hot topics. There are probably some people who don't feel the most sympathetic toward her right now. Is that hard for you, hard for her, to know that some people think the woman who went after other people is now dealing with her own life of a hot topic?
Before I let her answer, one of the things I think that a lot of people don't know about is there was some stuff there was some tea that was not tea that was spilled, but there was some allegations from Wendy Williams years ago about a lot of rappers that were gay back in the day, and that was a big thing.
And Diddy was one of them. And also, for people who don't know, Wendy Williams was one of the first people to blow the whistle on Diddy on her radio show. She was talking about Diddy, his little parties or whatever. She was talking about that on her radio show before it became more, mainstream. Like you see all these lawsuits against Puff Daddy right now, but she was talking about that back on her radio show. The R&B group Total actually showed up to the radio studio one time and threatened to fight Wendy. Like they tried to. Yeah.
I remember her talking about that.
Yep. So it wasn't like she talked trash about people and they just left her alone. Like there were times when some of these people actually tried to fight her. That's how big that radio show was. Like I said, everyone knows as the Breakfast Club is like the big radio show in the US. But before there was the Breakfast Club, there was the Wendy Williams radio show. And Charlemagne the God went to work for her radio show. And I think that's probably where he got the idea of creating the Breakfast Club. So you see, there's always someone before, like no idea is a real new idea. So it's just, he basically saw what they did with the Wendy Williams show and was like, okay, how can I take the same concept and create my own show? And then he came up with the Breakfast Club. But she was the first. She was the first to be more like this, balls hard female radio. And that's another thing in radio. Most of the time, women don't have their own radio show. And if they do, it's usually third shift, right? So late in the evening when most people are not listening to the radio. So the fact that when she even got that position as her own radio show in New York City, that was a big deal. And she worked in Philly first before she got that big gig in New York City. But at the time, that was not common. Women in radio are usually a co-host. They're usually not, the host of their own morning radio show. Even if you look at the Breakfast Club, you notice the main host is Charlemagne the God. They have a female host, but the main host is Charlemagne the God. So people have to understand the type of like barriers that she broke at that point in time.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Sabs with the background info. Thank you.
I don't think that it's really hard for my aunt. I think she knows the bed that she made. And so you got to lie in it sometimes, right? When it comes to the court of public opinion. And she's used to that. I also understand that everybody's entitled to their opinion. And my aunt was in a very controversial lane. At the end of the day, she is a person and she doesn't deserve to be suffering the way that she's been suffering.
The documentary project initially setting out to capture Wendy Williams' career comeback.
Showtime.
But instead appearing to chronicle her cognitive decline. It is heartbreaking. Some people are going to look at this and say, this is exploitation. She's being exploited. How could they do this?
Right.
What do you say to that?
And I understand that some people look at it and think that. But I will say this, first and foremost, my aunt is the executive producer of this documentary. And when I finally talked with her and I said to her, Aunt Wendy, why do you want to do this? She said, now is the perfect time because I want to take ownership of my story.
But does she have the capacity to take ownership of her story? Does she really know what she's doing, in your view?
I think that it comes in waves. And even in the conversations that I would have with her, right? Like that conversation was crystal clear when I said, why are you doing this? And she said, I want to tell my story. That conversation was crystal clear.
Owning her story has always been part of Wendy's brand.
From 6 years old, all I wanted was to be famous.
The proud Jersey girl going on to become a towering, often controversial figure in the world of hip-hop and R&B radio.
Denial is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay.
By the time Wendy Williams really has kind of risen to the cream of the crop in New York radio, there were some celebrities who were very bold enough to go and sit across from her.
One of them, the late Whitney Houston. Wendy, herself in recovery for cocaine use, pressing Houston about her alleged drug use in 2003.
Is there drug use going on at this present time?
Who are you talking to? Don't talk to me about this.
You are very defensive, Whitney.
I have to be, Wendy. You talk about me every day.
She talked to Nightline co-anchor Byron Pitt.
Woo, that was
Remember Whitney Houston said, I don't do crack. Crack is whack.
She said, crack is cheap. I make too much money to smoke crack. I was just like, damn, crack is whack. I'm like, Whitney.
Yep. Now, one thing that was interesting to me, what her niece said about her having ownership or to make her own decisions. So typically when someone is diagnosed with dementia, they're not granted that permission to be of sound mind. So that being said, when it comes to something like a power of attorney, for example, they would not deem her of, being of sound mind and body to be able to sign or deal with a power attorney. She would have to grant that over to someone else to basically be like the guardianship or whatever of her power attorney. So I was actually kind of surprised that she was the executive producer on this documentary, because if you're diagnosed with dementia, you're not of sound mind.
Yeah, so that just goes into the whole notion that if she was the executive producer, but they didn't know that she was of sound mind, and that means that, in my opinion, this documentary should have been scrapped. But
right,
yeah, I think this is almost over. That's halfway. We'll do it later.
It's about the exchange in 2015.
I recognize the moment because I recognize the behavior, because that was once me.
Addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Wendy. Wendy Williams was on the air for nearly 14 years, which is amazing. Wendy Williams.
It didn't feel like 14 years, though.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's more to that clip, but we can go over that. You guys can look at the rest of that clip in a little bit, but I want to get really to the meat of this tea that was spilt, because this is
thanks
major.
to Notori.
Thanks to Notori. Girl, this is big. So this is entitled Wendy Williams Judge Accused of Awarding Guardianships to People Donating to Her Court Election.
Here it comes.
Here it goes. Get y'all tea ready. Get y'all popcorn ready. Let's go.
So a lot has happened since the airing of the Wendy Williams documentary, and although it was hard to watch, it did exactly what it needed to do in showing that Wendy got worse as soon as she was taken from her family and placed in the hands of the guardian, Sabrina Morrissey. It's being alleged that there were times that Wendy had no food and friends had to send her Uber Eats because the guardian had her locked out of her funds. Not only that, we're learning that the guardian had another guardianship over a client for years and was accused of robbing him for millions of dollars. We're going to break that story down, as well as break down the story of what the judge that was handling Wendy's case is being accused of, and so much more. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell So the two-part documentary, Where is Wendy Williams, aired, and I can't say that it had mixed reviews at all. Everyone walked away pissed. We cried, we screamed. There was no happy point in the film at all. So much so, the producers of the documentary stated that if they'd known that Wendy had dementia, no one would have rolled a camera. Well, unfortunately, the cameras did roll. And if you're an avid Wendy watcher like myself, you'd know that if Wendy had all her faculties, there is no way in the world we would have ever seen her like this. So them saying that Wendy was an executive producer of this film is quite a stretch, to say the least. So the film shows the ups and downs of Wendy's life a few years after going through a divorce, losing her mom, and then losing her show. Wendy began drinking. Things became really bad. So her son, Lil Kev, decided to step in and care for his mother since it seems like no one in New York was really doing so. So he brought her to Miami, and during that time, they found out that she had alcohol-related dementia. So she began recovering through his vegan-based diet. She began working out, and he had a strict no alcohol rule. So
here's the thing.
I told you the alcohol.
Well, look, there's some people who are saying that is not related to alcohol. There's some people that are saying it is. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't say whether or not it's related to alcohol, but I will say this: alcohol does not help.
Right.
That's all I'll say. And so it is.
Notice how she was doing well when her son was taking care of her, right?
When her son was taking care of her. This is why it is important that family are involved, especially if you know that they're taking care of their family member in a positive way.
Yep.
Instead of allowing Wendy to continue getting help with her son, Wendy was then court ordered back to New York and given a guardian named Sabrina Morrissey.
Now, wait. Hold. My thing is, why in the world would they take the guardianship away from her son, who is already taking care of her and taking good care of her? Why would they take it away?
I don't know, but this kind of reminds me of the Britney Spears situation, to be honest with you, JB, how Britney had little control over her life. It seemed like it got to the point where Whitney had little control over her life. And I mean, how are you court ordered to be, taken away from your immediate family and then sent to this woman?
Yeah, because that's my question. It's like, why in the world would y'all take her away from her son, who's doing a good job, and because if she's doing good, it doesn't make any sense unless there's some shenanigans afoot.
The Tory said the money.
Let's get into it.
Back to New York and given a guardian named Sabrina Morrissey, who handed the responsibility of watching Wendy and caring for her to Wendy's jeweler/manager, Will Selby. And under their care, Wendy's life spiraled worse than ever. Honestly, after being seen at the Louis Vuitton store passed out, and then being seen going around New York by herself, going to get liquor and cigarettes, I don't understand why Sabrina Morrissey is still the guardian anyway. Now, before Wendy even got the guardian, she had an attorney by the name of Attorney LaShawn Thomas, who was fighting hard from the court docs that I've seen to actually get Wendy some justice. Now, those court docs have since been sealed. However, we were breaking down each and every doc over on this channel like a shotgun. And while LaShawn was in the courtroom handling her thing, they decided to seal the documents, and not only seal the documents, they got LaShawn out for her case. She was no longer able to represent or communicate with Wendy Williams, and they threatened to disbar her if she tried to. Now, LaShawn was...
What?
You see that?
Disbar her if she tried?
You see that? This is wild. It almost makes me feel like, because of some of these stories that Wendy did reveal over the years, it almost seems like this was a deliberate, payback or something. Very, very strange.
Woo, boy.
Bryce said, "Oh, hell no."
Was uncovering
Yeah.
Yeah. This is crazy, man. This is going to show you about the system. I keep telling you, the system is not fair.
Nope.
A lot of wrongdoing with Wendy and her finances, and it wasn't the family that was taking the money. So time goes on and Wendy begins taping the documentary. During the taping, Wendy suggests that her guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, is taking money from her. And in all honesty, the story really isn't as far-fetched as one would think. So the story goes something like this. There was a man by the name of Jose Verdugo that was hit in the head by a flying piece of plywood that blew off the 52nd floor of a building in 2003. Now, Verdugo obtained the attorney Michael Flomenhalf, and the construction company was sued. And you know, with these types of lawsuits, it does take some time. Now, during this time, Verdugo, the client, was approached by Herbert Rodriguez, who happens to be a former associate of Michael Flomenhalf. He's also cool with Sabrina Morrissey, who happens to be Wendy Williams' guardian. Now, during that time, Herbert Rodriguez misinforms Jose Verdugo that his current attorney, Michael, is mishandling the case and that the case couldn't be finalized unless he consented to an MHL Article 81 guardianship, which Jose did not need at the time. So Herbert Rodriguez takes his firm, and he initially partnered and conspired with Sabrina Morrissey and her firm to impose on Verdugo an MHL Article 81 guardianship. They got rid of the former attorney Flomenhalf, and Morrissey, which happens to be Sabrina's firm, was awarded substantial court fees as guardian counsel through litigation. Wendy's guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, was the guardian for Verdugo from January 19, 2010 through October 7, 2015. Now, Verdugo was initially awarded $5.5 million after the incident with his head injury. He had $2.47 million left after attorney fees, case expenses, discharge of liens, and so on. But over the course of a couple of years, Sabrina, her firm, and other attorneys pursued litigation, and the bill was ran up another $1.1 million. So think about this. If all of this happened to Jose and he only had $5.5 million, what do you think is happening with Wendy Williams' account, especially since they locked the family out of even being able to view the account? Her son.
There it is. There it is. It's a scam. It's a scam. And by the way, this isn't something that just happens to, like, you know, Wendy Williams or Britney Spears. This happens more often than people realize. And a lot of times this is just a scam. And I'm pretty sure Sabrina was heavily paid. Not this Sabrina, but that Sabrina was heavily paid. And they just take people's money. They take people's money. I used to work in a skilled nursing facility, right? Like back in the day. And so a lot of the people there are elderly, you know, obviously. But there were some people that were there that were not elderly, but they had to be there because of the injury that they had, right? Yeah. People would just try to find ways, like when it gets to that point where we had the discussion about power attorney, etc. You'd be surprised how even some of the family members will try to take the money from their own, like, mother or father. You'd be surprised the scams that they would try to run to take the money. Oh, just send that money to me. You'd never see these people come in and visit unless it was about money. But the system allows it to be that way.
Yeah, the system allows that. Let's continue. It gets deeper. You can go back just a few seconds.
To view the account. Her son couldn't view it. The family can't view it. No one can view her account and see what's going on. What do you think is happening with Wendy's account right now? I personally feel like Wendy was sent back to New York, left to her own devices, was not properly monitored, and they knew she would be photographed and videoed. This was all done to validate the need for the guardianship. She was good when she was in Miami. She was clean. She was sober. So why send her back to New York and leave her like this? What was the good in adding this woman as a guardian if it made the situation worse? So going back to the Verdugo case, it's being alleged that the guardianship judges also played a role in the alleged scheme. Ongoing ex parte communication between judges in the guardianship part and guardian attorney have also facilitated the scheme. So in all honesty, it seems like clean hands are non-existent when it comes to these types of cases. The judge that handled Wendy's case is Supreme Court Justice Lisa Sokoloff. And just this past September, Lisa silenced a woman under an unconstitutional court order forbidding her from speaking publicly or to the press about her father's circumstances or releasing filings and transcripts of court proceedings from the case where she was challenging her father's guardianship. So it seems like they like to keep everything under wraps. They don't want anyone to know what's going on in that courtroom. And I also want to note to you that ABC7 investigated not only Lisa, but several other judges, and come to find out, Lisa received $5,720 in campaign donations from 2019 through 2022 from 20 guardianship lawyers, law firms, or people who had deals in guardianship cases, and awarded those same people or law firms 62 appointments in 2022.
And there we have it.
Corruption, corrupt judges, corrupt lawyers, at the center of it, corruption.
Yep. And when it comes to the way that our politics are built in this country, a lot of times it's not just our politicians, it's also the judges. The judges that are also put in place in order to keep the system the way it is. So when people talk about, oh my God, but if you don't jump off of Joe Biden, then it's about the Supreme Court justices. Fuck the Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
The hell with them, because the thing is that they're all bought. They're all bought. The thing is, that's the same thing. The Supreme Court justices, the Circuit Court justices, the appellate judges, all of them. And a lot of people want to talk about, oh my God, the judges. Yeah, they're all bought off. Even the liberal ones are bought off.
How do you think they get those positions? They have been known to actually switch judges. Like, so for example, if there's a certain, let's say, white collar businessman that is going to trial, they have been known to pay off judges and swap out the judge that is supposed to handle that trial and put in someone who's going to be more favorable to the businessman, to the con man, to the white collar criminal. This happens all the time. This is why I was saying, like, it's not just about Wendy Williams. This is about how corrupt our system is. So when people say, you know, the politicians are corrupt, how do you think some of those politicians get in the first place? How do you think some of those judges got those positions to be judge?
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is when pop culture meets politics, baby. That's what's going on. All right, let's continue, because woo, this thing is deep.
Since May 2022, Williams has been living under a legal guardianship that oversees both her finances and health. Williams was assigned a guardian after Wells Fargo froze her account in 2022 as a result of her financial advisor at the time claiming that she was of unsound mind, according to Williams' court filings.
Use your common sense.
I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying things look a little shaky in regards to this guardianship. And to shed more light about what was actually going on while Wendy was under this guardianship while living in New York, here is her best friend Reg speaking to Chris Como about what happened.
Now, Sabs, you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's get. Woo, this is tough.
Regina Shell. She was in the film, although she didn't know that it was going to come out this way. And she joins us now. I'm sorry to meet you under these circumstances, but I know it's really important for you to speak up for your friend. Let's talk about what matters most to you. I just got a piece of information that the woman who is currently the appointed guardian has been accused of a scheme to rob a different client. There's a $30 million suit against her. You have said you have concerns about what is going on with this guardianship. How so?
When I was in New York and staying with Wendy in the summer, I noticed when she would call, she had no access to her money. So every time she had to do anything that she had to pay for, she had to go through the guardian. And she would call to order her breakfast at 7:30 in the morning with the guardian, and she would take the order, and the order wouldn't show up until sometimes noon. And so Wendy wouldn't have any food. And when I went back to LA, I would have to send her food from Los Angeles to New York through delivery service, because she wasn't the communication wasn't there, and she had no other access to money than this guardian. And so that's what was concerning to me, because she was telling me she didn't have food. and her publicist also, who lives out in LA. Both of us were going back and forth sending food to Wendy because she wasn't having access to food.
So
there it is. And like I said, I've seen this happen with people who have dementia, and with people who are elderly. You'll have these people come in who are supposed to be the ones that have the guardianship or whatever, and they totally abuse these people. Sometimes it's physical abuse, but sometimes it's financial abuse. Like, imagine like basically starving someone, not giving them money so that they can get food.
Exactly. So there's more to this, but you know, I have a whole nother video to cover, but that is deep. There's so much more on that one. And then I also have this one as well that you sent me, Sabs, that I also want to make sure I get to as well. And these are, she's talking to the producers. Like, holy crap. All right, let's go.
Part docuseries, Where is Wendy Williams, has become quite a battle among family and their focus on her well-being, and those that are worried that more has been focused on lining their own pockets and exploiting Williams in the process here. The documentary delving into the fragile struggles of the former talk show host and showing her financial problems, family drama, even heart-wrenching moments of her struggle with alcohol.
You know how many people come out to support you? You know how many people love you? No, I don't. Everything is going to be good. I know.
Now, Williams' team is revealing last week that she was diagnosed with aphasia and dementia, and her son, an only child, is saying that her condition is alcohol-induced. But there's doctors that beg to differ.
There is no evidence to directly link alcohol and frontotemporal dementia. So about 40% of frontotemporal dementia cases are genetic, and the other 60% of the time, we're not really sure why it happens.
Now, the executive producers of the doc, Mark Ford and Erica Hansen, say if they had known Wendy Williams had dementia, they wouldn't have rolled the camera. Mark and Erica join me now. Appreciate you both being here. As you know, this has been quite the headline maker. And so, Mark, I just want to start with you. Let's clarify exactly, when did Wendy Williams agree to do this docuseries? And when did you find out that she had dementia?
Well, Wendy agreed to do the docuseries way back in August of 2022 was our first kind of conversations arising. And as you can imagine, there was legal discussions with all of her lawyers, her guardian, her management, her publicist, and everyone signed off on the documentary before we began down this road with her. We didn't find out about her dementia diagnosis until well towards the end of filming, when her son and her family revealed to us that they had their own private diagnosis, and that's what they shared in the film. So, of course, the entire way we were raising questions and asking questions, what's really going on here, because we could see that her behavior was becoming more erratic and more concerning, frankly.
So let me ask you, why didn't you just scrap the project when you found out what was really going on here?
There were many conversations all along the way about whether we should continue filming or not. But I think once we got to the family and started understanding their point of view and their story here, it was really important to shine a light on the truth of what Wendy's situation was. The entire time we were filming this documentary, she was under the care of a legal guardian. The courts took that care away from her family and placed her into the care of a legal guardian. And you can see in the documentary, how Wendy was, and people can make judgments about whether she was receiving the right level of care or not. But it became important that this family's story was allowed to have a platform, because there are many thousands of families across America who are dealing with this guardianship system and don't have the platform that Wendy has.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
But her legal guardian did sue Lifetime.
Hello. I'm sorry.
I call BS. I think they did know. I think they did know that she had dementia, And I think they went through with it anyway because they wanted the money.
Yeah, that check cleared.
You know, it's just like, no, it's not because, well, they cared about the project. No, you cared about that money.
Yeah, check cleared. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Time trying to stop this from airing.
And the courts threw that out and decided that the constitutional rights of Wendy and her family were more important than their temporary restraining order or their attempt to.
Hold up. Let me ask. Hold up.
Order or their attempt to stop it.
He said, hold up, I'm sorry.
Her legal guardian did sue Lifetime trying to stop this from airing.
Her legal guardian did sue to try to stop it.
Yep.
So if the legal guardian tried to sue to stop it, and if they knew that she had dementia when she was doing the documentary, why not just stop it?
There it is.
Why not?
And there's another thing. Legal guardian. That term, legal guardian. So like you said, if she said that the legal guardian tried to sue Lifetime to stop it, then that means they knew she had a legal guardian. And if they knew that she had a guardian, why else would you have a guardian if you're over the age of 18? You know? It just, come on now. Let's think, people. Let's think. Who would have a guardian over the age? If you're over the age of 18, why would you have a guardian? But they said they didn't know.
Oh, we had no idea. Lord, these people. And he said,
and the courts threw that out and decided that the constitutional rights of Wendy and her family were more important than their temporary restraining order or their attempt to stop it.
I'm trying not to cuss, even though I did earlier. The hell? What? Sabs, I'm telling you.
If they knew she had a guardian, Jaybe, they knew that there was something wrong. You don't have a guardian if you know you're of sound mind or you can control your own finances, your own life. Like, why else would you have a guardian? So they knew there was a reason she had the guardian. They may not have known she had dementia at the very beginning, but they knew at some point she had a guardian because the guardian tried to sue.
Yeah.
To stop it.
So Erica, a TV critic for Variety, says the docuseries is invasive at best, predatory at worst. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, you know, the documentary is it is a difficult film to watch at times, and it tackles a very sensitive subject. But I think we all felt strongly that we wanted to shed light on what was truly happening to Wendy under the care of this guardianship. She was very isolated in her apartment, obviously struggling with serious addiction issues. And we were very concerned, and we began to wonder what would have happened if we weren't there. And so I can understand why people can be uncomfortable watching part of the film. It was difficult to film as well. And we tried to be very responsible in what we showed, but to reveal the truth.
So Erica, as an EP, how involved was Wendy Williams? And was she involved to the very end, including being there to see the final cut?
Wendy was involved. I filmed with her every day, and we talked about everything that we were going to do, and she had opinions about it. Some days were great, and she was very lucid. Other days, as you can see, she was struggling. But she was very involved, and we don't know if she watched the documentary. I know her family. I watched the documentary with her family, and they were very supportive. And, you know, we really wanted to share what it's been like for them to be separated, you know, from their loved one and not being able to communicate, not being able to call. She can call them, they can't call her. And so it was very important to get the family involved and engaged in this story and be a part of it.
So
Why
Wendy did
can't
not
the
have
family
a final
call?
say on.
Why can't the family call her?
That's a good
Everybody
question.
know what is happening here. Does everybody? This is very strange.
Yeah. And also she did not sign off because she did not see the documentary when it was done. So therefore, if she's the executive producer, that means that she needs to sign off before it moves forward. Is she the executive producer or not? And also, if she's the executive producer, that's a job, right? Does she get paid for it? And
I
if
don't
she did,
know.
how much did she get?
But this is basically exploitation. They basically exploited her. They got paid.
Yeah. And this goes into my whole rant about like our healthcare system in general, right? Because this whole like when it comes to you being able to have food, healthcare, transportation, shelter, all these different things, if it were guaranteed as a human right, would there be as much of a need for conservatorship or guardianship in adulthood as there is now? Because from what it looks like to me, this is also another epidemic that goes on in this country with people who are more affluent.
This can happen to anybody, though. The thing is, this can happen to anyone. And if they're able to do this to her, if they were able to do this to someone like Britney Spears, like what do you think would happen to someone, you know, like me or you or something like that? Like they can do this to anyone. And that's the thing. And the controllingness of it, right? Like saying the family can't call and controlling when she can have her finances so that she can get food, like that. Those same things happened to Britney Spears too. When she talked about this, like they would control who she can call, when she can watch TV, what she was allowed to eat. If she wanted to go buy like a shirt or something, they controlled that too. Like very, very controlling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't, you know, there's so much more to this story and the developments keep rolling out. Yeah, so stay tuned, guys, for this one. But one of the things I wanted to also say was when it comes to how we're treated in this country, this is one of the reasons why we talk about going out and trying to build community so that we can change things in this country. Because ultimately, Wendy Williams is also going through a health epidemic. Number one, her health with regards to her mental health. Number two, addiction is also a health issue. Okay. And so that also has to be said that, and why do people go through addiction? A lot of times it's through trauma, it is through hardship, and this system does not make it any easier.
Right. They should have never taken her away from the family. Like her son, she was doing great under her son and they just pulled her away. That's another thing too, is they try to isolate you from your family.
Yeah.
They try to isolate you.
Yeah. And so I think that's really important that we have to take care of that. But I know you have a hard stop, Sabs. What do you got going on tonight?
Covering 4 news stories. I know one of the ones I'm covering is that New York Times article expose about one of the authors of the article about the sexual assaults that they claimed happened on October 7th. So I have some new news about that and about that author and 3 other stories as well. I don't remember everything, but it'll get back to me.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue on and read the chats and the super chats, and then I'll close out here. But I just want to make sure I get all that there for you, Sabs.
All right, JB.
All right. Take care, Sabs. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So we're going to go to the chat really quick just to get some of you guys' thoughts. Also, I want to make sure to take a look at that poll. Make sure to take that poll as well. The poll basically is asking, should they have scrapped the documentary? What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's something that I want to get you guys I want to get your perspective on that as well, because I think that's really important. And I mean, I honestly, my opinion personally is they should have scrapped the documentary. It should have been scrapped a while back. So let me take a look. And let's enlarge this. So go ahead and take it, and then when I'm done reading the chats, then we'll go over that. All right. So first, Jack Hemming says, "What's the second thing? Aphantasia? I think it's aphasia. So apparently, it also affects the ability to speak. Also, it affects, I think, behavior. So, like for instance, Sabby was saying that Bruce Willis basically lost the ability to talk, which is very scary. So that happened to him. So this also could be what's happening to Wendy as well. So that's what it is, aphasia. Zoe says, why they love showing Black people like this. They never do this to a white famous person facing mental illness. Of course, I think, I don't know if they actually would do a documentary with Bruce Willis, but yeah, unfortunately, this is being shown more with Wendy. It's just tough to see all around. But thank you very much, Zoe. Old Crow, thank you so very much for the super chat. Says, I love me some Wendy Williams. She is the first person who voices I fell in love with. I didn't realize her health was this level. Yeah, she is pretty bad off right now, and it's sad. Notori, shout out to you, Notori. She says, lawyer judges and power of attorney over Wendy Williams. She stole millions of dollars from her last patient. Yep, we saw that. St. Davis says, in the radio game trash talking. Yeah, that's part of the radio game too. That's definitely there. Eric Gray says, Wendy Williams is another human commodity that can be used up and thrown away, just like Michael Jackson was. Bingo. Bingo. And the thing is that he was used up and tossed away. And the thing is that a lot of times when you have people who are affluent or rich, right, that are Black, not Black, but people who are affluent or rich, what will happen is you'll have essentially vultures. And then they will use and abuse that person in order to be able to get as much money out of it as possible. And so that just is just the system of exploitation. And unfortunately, the system that we have also encourages further exploitation of your neighbor. That's the system capitalism breeds. Vittori says the judge at the power of attorney over her is corrupt, and they swindle and lie to her sister and the family. Oh, that was another part of that we didn't get to, about how they lied to her sister and got the power of attorney away from her. Notori says Wendy Williams does have the struggles with alcohol and drugs, but how they swindled the family out of her money and the guardianship, that's the big takeaway from this. Yes. And her family should be involved as much as possible, but they're not. And the fact that she keeps crying, saying that she wants to see and hear from her family, that shows it is not anything bad going on with the family. It's bad going on with the management and with the guardianship. That's what it was wrong. And the people who are placing that power over her are the people that are in our legal system. Sherry says, it's frontal lobe dementia. Alcohol diets do not help, but it's not the cause. Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much for the super chat. Tiberius says, follow the money, connect the dots, find the truth. Absolutely. Black Unit Griffin says, executive producer is usually just someone that gives money for something to be made. It is just a generic stand-in for someone that doesn't do much aside from the money or locations for filming. Interesting. Thank you so very much for that. This is just sad all around. Michelita says, I just got here, but I do believe that they should not put out a production that she is not aware of what's going on. Exactly. And the thing is that if she didn't get to watch it and sign off and say, I approve of this or I disapprove of this, then I don't think it should move forward. I don't agree with that. John Kemper says they are all saying that they shouldn't have done this documentary, but they're also saying they wanted the money. Basically, Viking says, well, we heard a lot about Britney Spears, though they didn't do a documentary about it. Yep. Ravina says they don't care about the artist. It's all about the money. Roger Waters' Pink Floyd told the story, and that was way back then. Just getting worse. Steven says that is correct. It's up in theater. The executive producer raised the money and the producers and produces the play. Wow. And then I'll end with this one. Graham Jones says Wendy is just a famous example of what happens to everyday to regular people. Yep. And this is why I say is that we have to change the system ultimately, because the thing is that this happens to so many of us. You know, it's just horrible, man. This is why we got to get rid of this capitalist system and have a system that's more people-centered instead of money-centered. Because if you have it this money-centered, then things like this are going to continue to keep happening. All right, so with that, just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you guys have not, we are also raising money for our graphics designer. They do great work. So if you guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever. And also, we also do have a GoFundMe. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to our GoFundMe if you guys wish to go that route as well. And thank you so very much. Of course, I also have the Orlando chapter, which I'm trying to help raise for as well. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also donate to that. We're doing trying to raise money right now, especially to do for the unhoused, for doing care packages here in Orlando. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also go to our Cash App at $, Orlando RBN, and donate there. We're trying to raise money for our next action. We're trying to raise I gotta make a graphic for it, but we're going to be raising $1,200 for our next action to do for the unhoused within our area as well. So if you guys can donate to that, that'd be great. Thank you so much in advance for that. And also, in addition to, and furthermore, this Saturday, I will be live on my channel. Oh, before I get to that, let me share the poll. And the poll right now at 209 votes says, should the producers have stopped the documentary? 42% yes, 21% said no, and 37% said not sure. So there's a good deal of us that say, some say yes and some say not sure, especially. And there's a few people that said the documentary was, okay to keep on going. So there you have it, folks. Out of 212 votes. All right. So, all right. So I'm going to head on out. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in for the stream. Please make sure to tune in. Sabby goes live in 50 minutes. And then if you guys want to continue to keep watching RBN, I think Nick goes live at 9 p.m. for Nick at Night. So be sure to tune in for that. And in addition to, and furthermore, I will be, let me close that out. I will be having a stream this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And let me share that with you guys. So I will be live and I will share my screen really quick. I'm going to be talking to some reparations activists, and it's going to be should reparations, why you should support it. So we'll be talking about that at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel. If you guys would like to, my channel is also linked in the description down below. If you guys would like to tune in for that this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And of course, in line with that, I'm also doing some further reading on my channel later this week. We're going to be getting into The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks. I'm also reading Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. Going to be finishing up some more of chapter 7. And then I'm also reading Of Water and the Spirit, Ritual, Magic, and the Initiation in the Life of an African Shaman. So we'll be continuing the readings of those as well on my channel. It is going to be a good one. So thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in. You guys have for yourself a good one. Like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. I got my tea. I'm almost done. Anywho, but you guys have yourself a wonderful evening. Mwah, forehead kisses to every single one of you. Why? Just because I love you. And always check on your family and always make sure that they are okay. And always let people know if you're not doing okay. Don't be so prideful to think that if you're, that they can't let you, that you can't let them know that you're not doing okay. Okay? Be humble, let them know, and ask for help. Especially those of you men out there. So I know we can be stubborn as a mule. Ask for help. And accept it. Okay? I love you for watching. Mwah. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.